Multiple devices එකවර connect කළ හැකි internet like a boss. SLT Mobitel Fiber. Multiple devices එකවර connect කළ හැකි internet like a boss. SLT Mobitel Fiber.
Tonight, essentials only. Central Bank instructed to use available reserves to import fuel, as fuel limited to essential services only. The need of the time. Sri Lanka marks new heights with exports as earnings surpasses $5 billion during the first 5 months of the year. High-level talks. US delegation assures Sri Lankan Premier and President of assistance in ongoing talks with IMF, while Russian ambassador meets President to discuss essentials. Outsourcing ideas. The Public Utilities Commission to accept proposals from public on electricity tariff hike. All this and much more coming up on First at 9. This Monday, the 27th of June, 2022.
Nava life boy කොහොම ස්වභාවික කොහොම සාරය සමග හානිකර පෙරබන් රහිතයි.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
And a warm welcome. You're joining us on AdaDerana English News Service, and I'm Indivari Amwat. The United States has agreed to provide technical assistance for fiscal management in Sri Lanka, while reiterating support for ongoing talks with the International Monetary Fund. A visiting high-level delegation led by Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Treasury for Asia, Robert Kaproff, and Deputy Assistant Secretary of State for South and Central Asia, Kelly Kaideling, held talks with Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe and President Gotabaya Rajapaksa during the day. The delegation also communicated that the United States had already initiated requests to international banks to assist Sri Lanka in opening letters of credit for the purchase of essentials.
The US State Department, Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Treasury for Asia, Robert Kaproth, and Deputy Assistant Secretary of State for South and Central Asia, Kelly Kaideling, who arrived in Sri Lanka yesterday, held discussions with Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe this morning. According to the Prime Minister's media division, the delegation has agreed to provide technical assistance for fiscal management in Sri Lanka, while assuring support for ongoing talks between the Sri Lankan government and the International Monetary Fund. The visiting delegation then called on President Gotabaya Rajapaksa at the President's house. During the meeting, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has explained the process made on ongoing talks with the International Monetary Fund. In response, the delegation has said that the United States will assist Sri Lanka to strengthen IMF talks at all levels. They have also communicated that requests have been made from international banks to assist Sri Lanka in opening letters of credit to obtain essential commodities and medicine for the people. In a tweet, the US envoy in Colombo, Julie Chung, said that despite the challenging time, the US continues to deliver assistance and long-term partnership to help Sri Lanka achieve a prosperous, secure and democratic future. In the meantime, the US high-level delegation also met with Minister of Power and Energy Kanchana Wijesekara. According to Ambassador Chung, discussions focused on ways to alleviate Sri Lanka's energy challenges and how American partnerships in the renewable energy and electric vehicle sectors are promoting long-term sustainability.
Given the indefinite delay to shipments of diesel, petrol and crude, fuel supplies in Sri Lanka will be exclusively restricted to essential services from midnight tonight until the 10th of July. The All-Island United Container Transport Owners Association meanwhile said that container charges will be raised by 10% with effect from midnight tonight due to yesterday's hike in diesel prices. The Ceylon Petroleum Corporation and the Lanka IOC increased prices of petrol by 22% and diesel by 15% yesterday. Despite the request of the All-Island Three-Wheelers Association, meanwhile, three-wheeler drivers have stated that they will have to increase taxi fares for the second kilometre to 100 rupees from 90 rupees at present. The fare for the first kilometre will remain at 100 rupees.
With no confirmation on the next date of the arrival of already delayed shipments of petrol and diesel, Existing limited stocks of Ceylon Petroleum Corporation storage terminals are being distributed in limited refueling stations, prioritizing supplies to health services, public transport, essential services and for power generation. With fuel issuance limited to priority sectors in the country and despite Minister Kanchana Wijesekara's plea to the people to not queue up, long queues are seen outside refueling stations. Incidents of violence and tense situations were reported again at refilling stations. One such situation was reported at a refilling station in Horopatana today. People waiting in queue at the refilling station protested against police personnel who were trying to obtain fuel to their vehicles first. Meanwhile, people in the area of Hatton had come to the Hatton town hoping to receive tokens that were said to be distributed among the general public starting today. Minister of Power and Energy said today that tokens will be issued to those waiting in lines by army and police personnel. In the meantime, given the volatile situation the country is faced due to the shortage of fuel, many continue to exploit the situation in the hopes of making quick gains. Some even distribute fuel via illegal methods. The Pallevela police had received information that a Bowser had been transporting 11,800 litres of fuel from the Kolonava fuel storage terminal to Anuradhapura, had been dispensing fuel into cans in the area of Kajugama in Gampaha. Police apprehended the driver of the Bowser, his assistant and an individual collecting fuel in this manner. The police stated that they had already given out at least 20 litres of diesel by that time. Meanwhile, Badiklo Police Crime Division cracked down on a suspect who had hoarded fuel for black market resale purposes. According to the police, the suspect was arrested with 550 litres of diesel and 258 litres of kerosene hidden in a house in the area of Mavadivembu in Badiklo. In other developments, following the announcement by the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation and Lanka IOC to increase fuel prices, container owners expressed that they will increase charges. According to the All Island United Container Transport Owners Association, container transportation charges will increase by 10% with effect from midnight today. Similarly, despite a request by the All Ceylon Three-Wheelers Union to maintain the fare of taxi rides of the first kilometre at 100 rupees and the second at 90 rupees, many three-wheeler operators have moved to increase the fare of the second kilometre to 100 rupees. The three-wheel operators state that they cannot compensate for the price hike in fuel by operating at 90 rupees for the second kilometre.
President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has instructed the government, or rather the governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka and relevant authorities to use available funds to import fuel immediately. The instructions were given during a meeting with officials of the energy sector and the Central Bank today. According to the President's Media Division, Central Bank Governor Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe has agreed to pay the funds due to the relevant companies for fuel supply within a certain plan. Further, President Gotabaya has instructed officials to take immediate action to import fuel using the money available until then. It was also decided to discuss the relevant parent companies to obtain fuel within a specified period of time if fuel is not available as per procedure followed so far to open letters of credit. The President has also given instructions to formulate a formal plan for the next few months to manage and maintain proper fuel supply. Now, the President met with Russian Ambassador to Sri Lanka Yuri Maiteri to discuss matters pertaining to coal, gas, air travel and the economy. The discussions came in the wake of an announcement yesterday that 2 Sri Lankan ministers will fly to Russia to discuss matters pertaining to obtaining support to Sri Lanka during this crisis time and especially fuel imports from Russia. Now, the central bank has issued instructions on limitations to the amount of foreign currency that could be held within Sri Lankans resident in Sri Lanka and living in Sri Lanka. Given this backdrop, Sri Lanka is still grappling to secure necessary foreign currency to pay for essentials and to maintain essential services in the country. To discuss the situation and how foreign currency, the crisis is managed, we've invited to our studios Additional Director of the Department of Foreign Exchange from the Central Bank, Mr. W.S. Prasanna. A very warm welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Given the limitation now, the Central Bank has issued an amnesty period of 14 days until July, where people who hold foreign currency, those notes can be deposited to a personal foreign currency account or a business foreign currency account. Can you explain to us how this process happens?
Yes, you're correct. In fact, what of course we have done, basically, people who are, this is basically about the amnesty, granting amnesty for 14 working days to deposit or sell foreign currency which are in the possessions of people, which they have acquired and kept at their hands beyond the permitted values and limits. So this is an opportunity for them to come and deposit this money within the banking system, or even they can sell this money to the foreign currency to the bank. In fact, by doing, we also think that we can attract some amount of foreign exchange to the banking system that will also help to improve the liquidity of the banks as well.
Do you have an understanding of how much that would be kept aside from the formal banking system?
Of course, no. Of course, we don't get this information from the informal sources. We collect the information from the banks as well as authorized persons. So, in fact, of course, I can't just comment on the amount that what can be retained by people at the moment. But of course, we are going to monitor the amount that people deposit into their foreign currency account on daily basis to see whether this particular measure would be in the process of implementation is delivering our expected results.
So can a person who does not have a foreign currency account, those who hold, let's say, currency notes gifted to them and they're lying at home, open a new foreign currency account and avail themselves of this amnesty period and this amnesty granted by the Ministry of Finance and the Central Bank?
Sure. Of course, the people who have previously acquired this foreign currency for their previous travel abroad, and they may have acquired this money for sales of their goods and services to foreigners, and of course people who have returned to the country after their foreign employment, they would have kept this money with them without depositing this money. So then of course this is an opportunity for them to come and deposit this money to the existing foreign currency account. If not, even they can open new personal foreign currency account and deposit money. Alternatively, even they can sell this money to a bank.
Again, about this foreign currency, there must be some sort of fear among the general public because this currency, US dollars, are scarce in the country where still the government is attempting in search of sufficient foreign currency to secure essentials for payments. But what kind of security does the central bank give during this period of amnesty?
Of course, the people, because anyway, when they come to the banks, the bank, of course, will look into these the particular deposits, and then banks know that they have to exercise the KYC and the CDD rules. The banks have been informed in this connection. So that what we have to tell the people, for whatever you have foreign currency acquired previously, which I already explained, feel free to come and deposit this money with the banking system. So the banks are there to facilitate your transactions.
The limit has been reduced to $10,000 US from 15,000 previously.
Yeah, that's what, basically the money, people who hold this money at their hand should be subject to the purposes, limits and other conditions stipulated by an order issued by the Ministry of Finance. Earlier, this particular maximum limit permitted to hold by the person was $15,000 US. With this particular amendment to the order, it was reduced to US $10,000.
And it should be held within a foreign currency account, a personal or a business account.
You know, if people want to keep the money, the maximum going forward, they can only keep up to US $10,000. Whatever in excess of the 10,000 has to deposit to a foreign currency account or they can sell it to a bank.
Yesterday, the Minister of Energy, Kanchana Vijayasekara, said that the public cannot use Forex to make payments for fuel, as the central bank governor too said that this violates monetary policy. Again, we're talking about companies in the export business who are allowed to use some of their export currency, the currency that they receive as earnings, to pay for some essential services that they need to obtain. If you can clarify how this operates, the economy operates right now.
Yeah, as you correctly said, that normally, you know, the legal tender of the country is rupees. So whatever the transaction taking place between resident to resident should be done in rupees. But central bank has issued a rule recently allowing, of course, exporters to make their payment for their local suppliers in foreign currency. So in the event they buy foreign currency from a supplier of fuel, now they are exporters are in a position to make the payment in dollars. But in the case of general public, they have to pay it only rupees because the country's legal tender is rupees. The transactions has to be taken place within the country between two residents in rupees. That's the rationale.
We understand there are several departments within the central bank to oversee various aspects of the financial and economic purview. But as the foreign currency, foreign exchange department, what are the immediate challenges that you're facing?
You mean that, of course, we know that basically, central bank is has a lot of other departments, and all these departments are working towards to improve this particular position and overcome from the present difficulties in the foreign exchange market. But foreign exchange department has also introduced certain measures to address this particular situation and to improve the situation and to overcome from these present difficulties. One of such measures, I can tell you that we have introduced a special deposit account that can be opened by a Sri Lankan or in Sri Lanka or elsewhere, and they can bring their money as fresh inward remittances to this special deposit account, where they will be getting a kind of an additional interest on the funds they bring into Sri Lanka compared to a normal foreign currency account. I think many people have just already, they have remitted money to get this additional benefit. Hopeful that going forward, people will also be remitting fresh remittance to the country to get this additional benefit. That is also beneficial to the country at this particular juncture.
Thank you very much, Mr. W.S. Prasanna, Additional Director of the Department of Foreign Exchange of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, for joining us tonight. We'll take a short break before we return with more news on the other side.
Big 3.
In a bid to implement a proposed CEB revision request for electricity tariffs in future, the Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka says it will accept proposals from the general public on a future electricity tariff hike starting tomorrow until 3 weeks. Its chairman, Janaka Ratnayaka, said that the proposed tariff increase by the Ceylon Electricity Board and the counter-proposals of the Public Utilities Commission can be viewed on the PUCSL website from tomorrow. Speaking at a media briefing today, he also said that 3-hour scheduled power cuts will continue further until the ongoing crisis is resolved.
ලංකා විදුලි බල මණ්ඩලය මහජන විවිධතා කොමිසම මගින් ඉල්ලීමක් කරලා තිබ්බා ගාස්තු සංශෝධනයක් අවශ්‍යයි කියලා. ඒක සිදු කරේ මීට මාස කිහිපයකට ප්‍රථම. ඒ සඳහා මහජන උපදේශනයක් පවත්වීමට අපි තීරණය කරලා තියෙනවා. ඒ දැන්වීම හෙට දිනේදී පුවත්පත්වල ප්‍රසිද්ධ මාධ්‍යවල ප්‍රකාශයට පත් කරනු ලබනවා. ඒන් අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ විදුලි බල මණ්ඩලය කරපු යෝජනාව මහජනතාවට පත් කරලා මහජනතාවගේ යෝජනා අදහස් උදහස් ලබා ගැනීම තමයි මේ වගේ විදුලි බිල සංශෝධනයක් සඳහා කරන ක්‍රියාපාටියේ මූලික පියවර වන්නේ. ඒ අනුව මහජනතාවට පුළුවන් අපි සියලුම තොරතුරු හෙට දිනේදී මාධ්‍යයට නිකුත් කරලා පස්සේ අපේ වෙබ්සයිට් එකට පැමිණිලා බලන්න පුළුවන්. මොකක්ද විදුලි බල මණ්ඩලය යෝජනා කරලා තියෙන්නේ? ඒ වගේම මහජන විපතා කොමිසම මොකක්ද ඒකට ඉදිරිපත් කරලා තියෙන කවුන්ටර් ප්‍රොපෝසල් එක? ඒ අනුව මහජනතාවට පුළුවන් හෙට දිනේ සිට සති 3ක් ඇතුළත දවස් 21ක් ඇතුළත තමන්ගේ යෝජනා ලිඛිතව මහජන විපතා කොමිසමට දැන්වීමට. ඒ අනුව අපි අවස්ථාව ලබා දීලා තියෙනවා. විදුලි ඒකක 30ට වඩා අඩුවෙන් පාවිච්චි කරන පාරිභෝගිකයන්ට, ඒ වගේම විදුලි ඒකක 60ට වඩා අඩුවෙන් පාවිච්චි කරන පාරිභෝගිකයන්ට ලංකා විදුලි බල මණ්ඩලය ඇත්තටම යෝජනා කරලා තිබ්බේ 835ක වැනි විශාල ප්‍රමාණයේ විදුලි බිල වැඩි කිරීමක්. ඒ අනුව අපි මේක සාකච්ඡාවට භාජනය කරලා මේක අපි ඇනලයිස් කරලා අපි තීරණය කරනු ලැබුවා මේ වගේ විශාල වැඩි කිරීමකට ගියොත් එහෙම මහජනතාව විශාල අශූරු අඩියකට මුහුණ පානවා. ඒ අනුව අපි තීරණය කරා මේ වැඩි වෙන ප්‍රමාණය, ඒ කියන්නේ ඒකක 30ත් 60ත් 90ත් කියන ඒ කාණ්ඩවල සිටින පාරිභෝගිකයන්ගේ බිල විශාල වශයෙන් වැඩි නොකර අපි රජයට නිර්දේශ කරනු ලැබුවා ඒ අයට සහනාධාරයක් අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම ලබා දිය යුතුයි කියලා. ඒ අනුව විදුලි බල මණ්ඩලයේ එල්ලලා තිබුණු බිලියන 512ක පමණ වන පිරිවැය මත පදනම් වූ සංශෝධනය අපි අඩු කරනු ලැබුවා බිලියන 65කින් පමණ. ඒ වගේම අපෙන් ඉල්ලීමක් කරලා තිබ්බේ දැනට තියෙන රුපියල් 16කට තියෙන ඒකකයේ විකුණුම් බිල 32යි 7 ගාණක් තමයි ඉල්ලලා තිබ්බේ. ඒ ප්‍රමාණය අපි යෝජනා කරලා තියෙන්නේ. ඒ ප්‍රමාණය රුපියල් 28ක් පමණ ප්‍රමාණයකට තමයි සීමා කරලා තියෙන්නේ.
The Bar Association of Sri Lanka called on the President, Government and all political parties to take immediate steps to restore confidence in the Government of Sri Lanka among the international community and to not give false hopes to the people in Sri Lanka. The apex body for the country's legal profession stated that it was alarmed as to why the government has been unable to provide accurate and timely details on the current fuel crisis, saying the media briefing carried out yesterday by the Minister of Power and Energy, Kanchana Wijesekara, made it clear that all authorities had been keeping the people in the dark.
Over the manner in which the Sri Lankan government is currently handling the economic crisis and the resultant shortages. After listing out the sequence of announcements made by authorities regarding the supply of fuel, it stated that the media briefing carried out yesterday had made it clear that the general public was kept in the dark, while the authorities gave them false hope. The association stated that yesterday's media briefing did not give any explanations as to why the reserves were not maintained in a better manner, given the fact that the arrival of the next shipment of fuel was uncertain. The statement said the sequence of announcements by authorities demonstrate the confusion that exists in respect of fuel supply in Sri Lanka and the mistrust the public have with regard to the official statements. The Bar Association went on to say that it is alarmed at the failure of the government to provide timely, accurate and reliable information to the people of the situation in respect of fuel supply, which affects every aspect of the daily lives already complicated by the economic crisis. The Bar Association calls on the government to immediately provide timely and adequate information to the public as to its plan in respect of ensuring continuous supply of fuel in the short term and to present a roadmap on its plans to extricate the country from the fuel crisis. It added that plans should be devised with proper consultation with relevant stakeholders on an effective mechanism to ensure the fair and equitable distribution of fuel to people. The BSL calls on the President, the government and all political parties to take steps to restore national and international confidence in the government and stated that it is necessary for the President and the relevant political actors to bear responsibility for the hardships caused to the public.
The Committee on Public Accounts instructed officials of the Ministry of Power and Energy to prepare a detailed roadmap for excavations in the country for the purpose of obtaining gas and crude oil. The instructions were given during a recent meeting between officials of the Ministry of Power and Energy and the committee under the chairmanship of Professor Tissa Vitarana. During the meeting, officials of the ministry made a presentation on liquefied natural gas mining projects planned in Sri Lanka and their current status. During the presentation, Committee members inquired whether the excavations require the advice of foreign governments, to which the officials had responded that there was no such need. Accordingly, COPA instructed the officials to complete the excavations as soon as possible, as it is in the interest of the country, and instructed a roadmap to be prepared for the purpose. Sri Lanka is to establish a cargo ferry service between the north and Pondicherry in Tamil Nadu. Sri Lanka's Ministry of Defence has authorised the launch of a cargo ferry service between Kankasanture and Pondicherry in Tamil Nadu starting from the 1st of July. According to the Minister of Fisheries, Douglas Devananda, the project is to establish a direct route for Indian goods to reach Sri Lanka's north, which could be operated between Kankasanture and Karaikal port in Pondicherry. He further stated that the importance of fuel, kerosene, diesel and other essential commodities such as fertilizer, palm oil and pharmaceuticals will be delivered at a reasonable price as ferry service begins. Meanwhile, according to reports, preparations are also underway to establish a flight route between Palale International Airport and Trichy and Chennai from July 1st. Taking you to business news, Sri Lanka surpassed $5 billion in export earnings during the first 5 months of this year, recording a $453 million increase compared to around 4.7 million earned during the same period of 2021. In the month of May alone, exports recorded $980.2 million in earnings. Earnings from the United States, Sri Lanka's single largest export market, was up 25% in May alone.
Earnings from merchandise exports increased 9.9% year-on-year to $980.2 million in May, mainly due to an increase in earnings from export of apparel and textiles, coconut-based products, and electrical and electronic components. During the month, exports of apparel and textiles increased by 30.1% year-on-year to $482.7 million, while export earnings from coconut-based products increased by 5.8% to $70.6 million compared to May last year. Export earnings from seafood increased 11.8% to $16.8 million year-on-year. Earnings from electrical and electronic components meanwhile recorded $41.8 million in the month of May. However, export earnings from rubber and rubber finished products have decreased by 15.9% year-on-year to $76.7 million during the month. Export earnings from tea, which made up 12% of merchandise exports, decreased by 14.2% year-on-year to $93.7 million. The cumulative value of export earnings for the first 5 months for this year totaled $5.145 billion, which represents $453 million increase in merchandise exports compared to the corresponding period of 2021. Out of that, apparel and textile exports amounted to $2.4 billion, which is also a $336 million increase year-on-year. Meanwhile, $350 million came from coconut and coconut-based products, while electrical and electronic components exports amounted for $188.3 million. Export earnings from seafood during the period was $105.8 million. Export earnings from tea, however, decreased by 12.5% to $460.9 million during the period of January to May 2022, compared to the corresponding period of 2021, while rubber products too declined 2.4% to $414.3 million. During the month of May this year, exports to the United States, Sri Lanka's single largest export destination, increased by just over 25% to $266.42 million compared to May of 2021. The United States received $1.364 billion worth of exports from Sri Lanka in the period from January to May, which is a significant year-on-year increase of 20.32% compared to $1.1 billion recorded in 2021. The next highest export destination was the UK, where 78.21 million US dollars worth of Sri Lankan exports were exported to. Further, 411 million US dollars have been earned via exports to the UK during the period between January and May.
Fitch Ratings has downgraded the rating of Sri Lanka's Bank of Ceylon's foreign currency ratings to restricted default from CC. The downgrade comes after the rating agency earlier downgraded the sovereign rating to RD after the country defaulted on most of Sri Lanka's external debt. Fitch Ratings has been made aware of missed payments on BOC's foreign currency obligations, which underpins its rating action, a statement from the rating agency said. They stated that they believe the foreign currency funding and liquidity profile of highly stretched and also believe this is exacerbated by the sovereign's debilitated credit profile. Now, in a historic move, Russia has defaulted on its overseas debt for the first time in more than a century after missing a deadline yesterday. Russia has the money to make a $100 million US payment, but sanctions made it impossible to get the sum to international creditors. The interest payment was due on the 27th of May, where Russia said that the money was sent to Euroclear, a bank which would then distribute the payment to investors. The Kremlin said that a default was absolutely unjustified. A spokesperson for the Kremlin said that an intermediary bank had withheld the money and that the reserves were blocked unlawfully. However, it was reported that the payment has been stuck there. Russia's finance minister has called the situation a farce and said the situation is not expected to have short-term impact. The White House has said that Russia had defaulted on paying yields on its international bonds, crediting sanctions for effectively cutting Russia off from the global financial system. The last time Russia defaulted on its foreign debt was in 1918 during the revolution, when the new communist leader Vladimir Lenin refused to pay the debts of the Russian Empire then. That's all from us tonight. Have a pleasant evening. Good night.